What is God like? Genesis chapter 40. Sometime after this, the cupbearer of the king of Egypt and his baker committed an offense against their lord, the king of Egypt. And Pharaoh was angry with his two officers, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, and he put them into the custody in the house of the captain of the guard, in the prison where Joseph was confined. The captain of the guard appointed Joseph to be with them, and he attended them. They continued for some time in custody. And one night they both dreamed, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were confined in the prison, each his own dream, and each dream with its own interpretation. When Joseph came to them in the morning, he saw that they were troubled. So he asked Pharaoh's officers who were with him in custody in his master's house, "Why are your faces downcast today?" They said to him, "We have had dreams, and there's no one to interpret them." And Joseph said to them, "Do not interpretations belong to God? Please tell them to me." So the chief cupbearer told his dream to Joseph and said to him, "In my dream there was a vine before me, and on the vine there were 3 branches. As soon as it budded, its blossoms shot forth, and the clusters ripened into grapes. Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup, and placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand." Then Joseph said to them, "This is its interpretation. The 3 branches are 3 days. In 3 days Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to your office, and you shall place Pharaoh's cup in his hand as formerly when you were his cupbearer. Only remember me when it's well with you, and please do me the kindness to mention me to Pharaoh, so to get me out of this house. For I was indeed stolen out of the land of the Hebrews, and here also I have done nothing that should put me into the pit." When the chief baker saw that the interpretation was favorable, he said to Joseph, "I also had a dream. There were 3 cake baskets on my head, and in the uppermost basket there were all sorts of baked food for Pharaoh, but the birds were eating out of the basket on my head." And Joseph answered and said, "This is its interpretation. The 3 baskets are 3 days. In 3 days Pharaoh will lift up your head from you and hang you on a tree, and the birds will eat the flesh from you." On the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, he made a feast for all his servants and lifted up the head of the chief cupbearer and the head of the chief baker amongst his servants. He restored the chief cupbearer to his position, and he placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand. But he hanged the chief baker, as Joseph had interpreted to them. Yet the chief cupbearer did not remember Joseph, but forgot him. What is God like? God is the great orchestrator of all events in everyone's life on this earth. God plans a great future for everyone on the planet Earth. Those who seek Him, obey Him, do what's right, He's going to help them and they're going to live. Those who avoid God, disobey Him, do what's wrong, they're going to earn the wages of sin, which is death. God knew the future of the baker. It happened. God knew the future of the cupbearer. It happened. God knows the future of Joseph, the Israelite nation. He knows our future, and it will be a successful future if we follow Him. The future that's coming is Jesus and the offer of eternal life. God is orchestrating every detail of the life of Joseph, the faithful, loyal, obedient life of Joseph. God needed Joseph in Egypt, for it was foretold to Abraham that his family, his people, would be in a foreign land for 400 years. Genesis chapter 15, verse 3. God allowed Joseph to be sold to a very specific slave owner, Potiphar. He was not allowed to be thrown to just anybody, to be sold to anybody. but a very specific slave owner, Potiphar, the captain of the guard of the prison of the king of Egypt, Pharaoh, so that Joseph could make friends in Egypt. And God did not allow Joseph to be thrown into just any prison, but into a very specific prison. The prison in the house of Potiphar, the captain of the guard, where the king's prisoners were held, so that Joseph could make friends in high places in Egypt. And God allowed Joseph to meet a cupbearer who personally worked for Pharaoh, so that he could witness that God reveals the future through Joseph. Joseph's future has not yet been revealed, but we know it will be a good one because God only gives the best to his faithful and loyal children and servants. Those who obey God, those who disobey God, those who avoid God, will short circuit God's great plans for their futures. Those who disobey God are going to earn the wages of sin, which is death. God knows your future. What will you do?